I think we're back on Facebook and such. Oh, yes, there we go. Everything's reinstated. All right. Thank you for your patience. Again, one armed bandit. Normally, I have two guys in the background that are babbling about stuff that I know nothing about. While I take care of these little problems and upsets but that's what it takes when you steal a radio station and forget to take the manuals with you. I did want to let you guys know about some events happening from around the country. I don't know if anybody has kept up with anything other than the big news that's meant to scare everyone. Well, here's a scary story for you. Emergency vehicles enter Magic Kingdom in surreal scene after Disney World fire. This is from Entertainment Weekly. Fire trucks drove down Main Street after a fire broke out at Disney World's Magic Kingdom. Guests were evacuated from park property after a small fire broke out Tuesday night at Disney World's Magic Kingdom in Orlando, Florida. According to several local news outlets, the blaze started next to the Cinderella Castle around 6:45 p.m. and was quickly extinguished. That's 1845 for my military friends. Was quickly extinguished, though concerned guests shared footage from the scene that saw emergency vehicles driving down Main Street. There we are, there we are, there we are. There we are with our cell phones videotaping a situation. The Orlando Sentinel indicated that fire personnel treated a Disney security guard, that would be a Sir Knight, who inhaled dry chemicals from a fire extinguisher, though no serious injuries were reported. So if you're going to huff, kids, don't huff fire extinguishers. That's just, we're trying to reduce the harm, okay? Representatives for Disney World didn't immediately provide Entertainment Weekly with clarification on what caused the fire or if there were any injuries. Several visitors who posted video from the park, there we are again, the humans with their little cell phones recording events, from the park reported seeing smoke outside the Cinderella Castle structures, while others expressed shock at seeing fire trucks traversing the pathways. That man's got a thesaurus. One guest even tweeted, "This is definitely something we have never seen in all our years of visiting the Magic Kingdom." Previously, the Magic Kingdom's Festival of Fantasy Parade took an unplanned event in 2018 when a giant mechanical dragon, which was inspired by the beastly form of Sleeping Beauty villain Maleficent, malfunctioned near the Liberty Square section of the park. Elsewhere on Disney World property, the park is readying for an expansion of its Epcot Center with the addition of a new Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster. While the Hollywood Studios park will open, it's a massive multi-day immersive experience, Star Wars Galactic Star Cruiser, in March of 2022. Oh, will open. Oh, I see. There's sick, by the way. That A is not supposed to be there. Magic Kingdom is also currently working on opening a Tron-themed roller coaster. That sounds exciting. I was, man, when the first movie came out, it was cool. It was cool. It was cool. Oh, silly machine. The whole thing blew up. And there's also the rehabilitation of its plenty of things happening in the world. But if you're at Disney, especially my friend Ben Hawkins, be careful with those lightsabers, homie. They will get you in trouble. Like burning down the house trouble. Or in this case, Cinderella's castle. It's a special place. It really is. I went to the one in California back in, my God, it was pre-80s. I would say 77, 76. It was a different world. I hope somebody found my camera. See you, Sam. We're going to do a podcast soon, I promise. YouTube will let me in, and we'll be able to. He's one of the better F1 gamer racers. And he has a number of cats on his team. And it's going to be a fun bilingual podcast that we'll be producing. I don't think it'll be on the Big Talker, because I don't think Big Talker has a huge gaming um, support group. But if you are, hey, we'd be more than happy to do a gaming show. I think that'd be fantastic. Also, again, I want to remind people we have this beautiful stacked washer dryer from Frigidaire in great condition. Anybody need a stacked washer dryer? All the money would go to keeping the Big Talker running. And that's pretty important to me because I have all this gear in my garage, and basically all the money that comes in keeps me out of jail. And that's, that to me, that's a good thing. And I really hope that it doesn't have to happen to you for it to matter to you. That's all I'm asking on this Christmas holiday season. In fact, I do have a fun, a heartwarming Christmas story for you, if you're interested. Anyway, so a few months ago, I was pulling into the garage at work downtown when I worked in the Murchison building, way up at the top of the Murchison building, paying a lot of money for the parking in the structure just so I could go to work. And I saw what I thought was a garbage bag. And I thought, it's not 15, 20 meters to the trash can. I can get this out of the parking spot, out of here, and over to the trash. As I get to it, I realize it's a backpack, and there's stuff in it. I'm thinking, anthrax attack? So I'm carefully, jiggling and looking, and my goodness. It's a like a small messenger backpack size bag, and it has two huge bags of Doritos. This belongs to, and there's no wallet or there's no identification but there is a MacBook Pro, a very powerful MacBook Pro. And I'm thinking, this needs to go someplace safe. I like Macs. I have a bunch of them. I really like Macs. So I took it to work with me, and while I got work set up and had everything running, I took a peek and see if I could find the name, and all I had was a name, Audrey, basically, and I went on Facebook, and I found her Facebook profile, and of course, being a ugly 60-year-old man with an attitude, I'm probably not going to be the first one to pop up on her mail, on her Facebook mail. So I sent out basically a little thing saying, hey, your MacBook is safe. It's dry. It's in a safe environment, plugged in, charging. Let me know. I didn't hear anything for a couple of weeks, and I found myself in a situation where I needed a lot of computer power, the exact kind of computer power this laptop had. And I apologized to the gods above, took out my Unix memory bank, and hacked my way into a MacBook Pro and got to work. And it has become the central functioning unit at the heart of what makes the Big Talker online work right now. So it's a pretty mission critical piece of gear. You could say it's important. And recently, she was able to contact me. She saw the message and said, "Oh my goodness, that's my college computer book. Please." Oh yes, ma'am. Not a problem. And we will have it back to her before Christmas. And how's that for a warm little story? I've been raising the funds to replace the computer so I have something to work with here. And Audrey will have her computer to get back into her college career. And I am really glad that both of us are really glad, because for the first couple of weeks that I had the material sitting in the garage, plugged in, just charging, and of course the Doritos had gone rancid after the first week, and I thought, okay, I should just toss those. And I was still looking, checking with my friends, has there been any police reports? Is there some weird crime that happened that might be related to her, and I would maybe there's something on her computer or in this bag or something. but it didn't need to be thrown away or, stolen by a homeless guy and sold for a pack of cigarettes or something. It needed to be saved, I guess, or preserved, or whatever term you want to use. But I did crack the machine open and start using it to keep the big, to basically keep an income coming. And she has been most gracious about it, that everything that she had done has been cloud-based work. So she lost nothing other than a couple of weeks of time, and I am forever grateful that I was allowed access to this level of power before I was able to obtain that type of computer myself, so that I could do the work that I do and continue the Big Talker in new glorious forms, including the mistakes of like ending the Facebook stream because I can't seem to do 5 things at once. 4, I'm good. 8, I'm good. 5, I don't know. Don't forget we have a stackable washer and dryer. Frigidaire. Come get it. Give us money. Help us out. Buy T-shirts. We should have T-shirts. Hey, Ted, if you're listening, let's look into making some Big Talker online. I help save the Big Talker online. And we'll do like a little T-shirt thing where you get a T-shirt that says, I help the Big Talker. I help save the Big Talker online. And you get to proudly wear it in your community or while you're raking up leaves in the yard because you don't want to ruin any of your cool concert T-shirts like Fish. Yeah, and not only do you get to proudly display it, you actually get to help us because, anything that we push is going to help put money back into keeping, because it's really a volunteer thing. And to prove that point, the volunteers of my morning program were unable to volunteer this morning. And I feel for that. I'm glad that they've been able to help or participate as long as they have. So, I'm not knocking anybody at all. And I really appreciate their work. I hope they're having a great morning. I have better coffee. I don't know about that candy cane coffee. That stuff's just, I don't know, ridiculous. We have a lot of other supporters, I guess I failed to mention, like Chad's Seaside Jewelry in Oak Island, which is fun because if you think radio is a 24-hour job, retail at this level is pretty much a 24-hour job. When you're in the store and you're showing the necklace, it's a little different thing than when you're like, oh, I need 4 more necklaces or I need one of this. I mean, there's just so many nuances to it. It's fun listening to it. Oh, we have another show produced by 3 nice ladies called Just Think. An interesting juxtaposition to some of our other programs. For example, I don't know if Mark Benson is listening this morning, his Blue Line radio program that's on every Saturday, and I'm glad he's continuing it. It's a lot of fun. It's a rambunctious look at the news at the world or the world of crime, the news of the world of crime. I guess he might have a better description for it. Again, I am not a smart man. I am not ashamed to say that, which is why I read and I learn more every day and talk to people like Sam Donaldson, Andrew Donaldson. Okay, so I haven't finished my coffee yet. I bet Andrew about went off the road. Like, what was that about? But I grew up with Sam, man. So you got to remember, and the most memorable thing for me, if anybody ever watched Sam Donaldson do newscasts, is that it looked like, if you remember the early Ken dolls where you could take his hair off in one big piece, right? It just popped into a little hole in the head of the Ken doll, right? That's what Sam Donaldson's hair looked like because it never changed in the 30 years, 25 years that I remember him being on the air. It looked like you could literally Mr. Potato Head his hair right off of it and then pop on like an Iggy Pop hairdo and go to CBGB's or something. But no, Mr. Donaldson, Andrew Donaldson of the Ordinary Times and his Heard Tell program has been phenomenal addition to our programming. because we are trying to concentrate on material that's in, from, and around and about the southeast North Carolina. But we know that our little spot on the planet is still important to people around the planet. And many of these people, I know that Ben Hawkins' show, Lind with Ben, is listened to by his parents who live in a fun little spot. I'm not sure of the exact town that they're in, but it's near Elizabethtown, Kentucky, southwestern side of Kentucky. Beautiful green area. That's where all the gold, that's where Fort Knox is. I got married, in fact, just up the road from Fort Knox at the Otter Creek State Park. Beautiful country out there. But there's no way you could receive our programming, our information, informative commentary, and conservative discourse way out in Kentucky using an FM transmitter. So, it's a good thing that we have access to internet. And that's how we're going to do it from now on. That's how the kids do it. That's what the kids like. We're going with the kids. Kids are cool. But it's harder for us other people, like as Sam. Should I go by the last name first? Because that's how I alphabetize people in my head. It's how my schema works. So Andrew was commenting, and now I've lost where I was talking about. Well, as you can see, I don't know what I'm doing. And that's why they pay me the big money. We'll be right back after a short break.
Keeping Wilmington informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach. Do you or someone you love suffer from back pain, poor circulation, or struggle to get a good night's sleep? Do you just need help getting into or out of your chair? US Med Express is Wilmington's leading supplier of Golden Technology lift and sleep chairs, carrying a variety of models in our showroom at 1733 Dawson Street. Our chairs lead the industry in power lift recliner features and advances in technology. Our chairs are FDA certified as medical devices, which means it's 100% tax deductible and helps with a number of medical conditions, including arthritis, poor circulation, and sleep apnea. Give us a call today at 910-500-6162 or stop by and experience our chairs for yourself at 1733 Dawson Street. That's 910-500-6162. 1733 Dawson Street in Wilmington. US Med Express.
Hello, I'm Jeff Rivenbark with WWAY News. President Joe Biden toured two towns yesterday in the Midwest that were destroyed by tornadoes late Friday night. The president met with first responders and survivors in Kentucky and vowed to help their region rebuild. More than 30 tornadoes touched down in several states Friday night. The biggest one came through the western Kentucky town of Mayfield. The National Weather Service says it was an EF4 packing nearly 200-mile-an-hour winds. 59 people are still unaccounted for. In other news, CDC data shows the Omicron variant of the coronavirus now accounts for 3% of infections in the U.S. and is more transmissible than the Delta variant. The CDC's director says Omicron may account for as high as 13% of cases in some areas, including New York and New Jersey. The president's chief medical advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, says there's no need for Omicron-specific booster at this time. Recent studies show a third dose of the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines provide more protection than the usual two-dose regimen. Back at the Cape Fear, we now know the name of a man killed in an officer-involved shooting in Pender County this week. The State Bureau of Investigation identified the man shot by deputies as 45-year-old Kevin Swinson. The shooting happened Tuesday in the King Tuck community after deputies went to serve a domestic violence protective order. They encountered Swinson, who officials say had a gun. The deputies involved were Grant Simi and John Drago Castano. No word yet on what led up to the shooting. And some big news this morning for a teacher in the Cape Fear. New Hanover High School English teacher Abby Nobles was named the 2022 North Carolina Southeast Regional Teacher of the Year. Earlier this year, Nobles was also named New Hanover County Schools High School and overall Teacher of the Year. Congratulations. For more on these stories, head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Jeff Rivenpark. Have a great day.
Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. We are going to see beautiful weather in store for us once again. More sunshine and a few clouds, but temperatures are going to be running almost 15 degrees above the average. If you're inland of the coast, we're jumping into the middle 70s for afternoon highs and lower 70s for the coastal areas. For tonight, we do drop back down into the middle and upper 50s, so we stay mild with partly cloudy skies and perhaps some patchy fog developing overnight tonight. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Hey everyone, Ben Hawkins here with Cross Country Mortgage. Rates are still at historic lows, and there has never been a better time to purchase your dream home or refinance your existing. With over 300 loan products including conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, and jumbo, we are certain we have the right loan product for you and your family. Call me today to be pre-qualified to make the offer on your next dream home. 910-352-3373 or visit my website at lendwithben.com.
Hi, this is Justin Humphreys from the Humphreys Law Firm on Eastwood Road. The Humphreys Law Firm is located in Lumina Station, Wilmington, North Carolina, practices civil litigation, intellectual property, commercial, and residential real estate. Please give us a call at 910-332-0721 or visit us on our website, which is www.humphreysfirm.law. You can also listen to me every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
If you want to talk about culture and politics without all the caterwauling, then you'll love Hertel Radio with me, your host, Andrew Donaldson, every weekday morning, 6 a.m. with a replay at 3 p.m. right here on the Big Talker. Catch it on the Listen Live tab on the app or watch on the Facebook page.
Yeah. It's that time again. Here on the Asylum. On the Big Talker. The Big Talker Online. You are now part of the Asylum. Gotta love the slamming music. It's how you get your blood going in the morning, right? I mean, whenever you need to, buckle down and get something done. I remember we were asking this of on another program I produced for a minute. When we were asking veterans, when you were about to go do the thing, whatever your thing was, what did you load up in your music? What were you listening to? And not one of them was listening to a ballad. And the songs just, they're all phenomenal songs. The one that really got me was an older veteran that's quite active in the community. He had answered with Rush. He wanted to hear Rush when he went in to do his thing. And I'm like, all right, I got Rush. So I don't know if anybody got to tune in a little earlier before this show is the Heard Tell podcast with Andrew Donaldson, not to be confused with Sam Donaldson like I seem to do a lot. But Andrew Donaldson had a segment talking with a smart guy. I think he's like a NASA, an actual NASA smart guy. Like actual NASA, not YouTube NASA, but NASA. And they were ragging for a minute on Elon Musk. And I have to push back a little bit. I mean, socially awkward is. So my stepfather was a physicist at Sandia National Laboratories, and it was not uncommon to have dinner parties and meetings with, you know, some of these smart minds at our home, hosted by my mother and stepfather, and entertaining, and then getting down to whatever it was they were discussing, whether it was a new way of deciphering and encrypting data, or if it was the double eagle balloon flight, or, you know, a bunch of really cool stuff at the, you know, what is now the, you know, the NSA level, basically. Not the balloon flight. The balloon flight from Presque Isle, Maine to Missouri, France was, you know, it's well documented. There's a great book. But it was not uncommon to see, you know, and as a kid, you're sort of sponging how people behave and how they talk, and, you know, and these are really smart people, like, you know, multiple PhDs and doctorates and masters and such. And they're really good at what they do and what they know because they're just passionately interested in it, to the exclusion almost of everything else. They don't care about movies. They don't care about the politics. They don't care if you're using real bread or, you know. They pay attention to the things that directly affect them, like if you're using bargain brand bathroom tissue, or, you know, things like that. That's going to, you know, like Einstein. It was reported that when he bought stuff, he didn't bother counting money. It just, you know, his head is thinking of numbers and spaces and relationships that just, you look at money kind of like you look at tree leaves. You know, it's just, it doesn't, you know, I know you need it. That's how your stuff, I know how this stuff works, but I'm not going to concern myself with counting pennies and nickels when I'm trying to, like, figure out how to not blow up the world but still get a lot of cheap power. You know, so when you're dealing with this type of people, they're not going to be marriage material, right? I think my mom can verify this. By being with such a smart man, it was very difficult for her, because the passion that he had for his interest in field and physics was as powerful as anything else in his life, including his children, his life, his marriage, his home, everything. It just occupies so much of his brain. Now, I understand Elon Musk has a unique brain, that he has like a bit of autism or something. You know, there's so many aspects to what makes Elon Musk tick the way he does, that many things are going to be sacrificed. And this is true along any axial, that if you are extremely gifted in one area, you are going to be seriously deficit. You're going to be debted. You're going to be lacking in something else. Not everybody is 100% balanced. That's just, you know, I don't think it's possible, because your passion for this and your passion for that will add up to a great amount of your life. And different people's priorities are not necessarily an evil. They may be questionable, they may be chaotic, and some can straight up be evil. That's not off the table. But the point is, it's more our responsibility. To take that into account when addressing the known history of Elon Musk. Like, his work with PayPal was where I discovered, like, I'd been using it for a while, and there was an article in Wired magazine, I think it was, about his shift in technology and interest in developing the Tesla. And this is where Andrew Donaldson apparently has some issue thinking that it's a Ponzi scheme, if I heard you correctly. I was shocked. I was like, wait a minute. All right. I don't know if I can follow that one. I had trouble with it. I may not exactly understand your argument. But to go from PayPal to Tesla to SpaceX is, Richard Branson with Virgin, I believe, did a very similar thing, starting out with a record label back in, the 70s? So the growth along these lines is progressive in nature, that each success launches or gives them the ability to launch into a new venture, whether it succeeds or not, to build something new, to build on something that's more and more focused on his passion. So his passion in technology was demonstrated with PayPal, is demonstrated with Tesla, and is further demonstrated with SpaceX. That this stuff, this passion, has to occupy an enormous percentage of his brain. In Andrew's case, he has a family, and that's very important to him. I don't think Elon's able to incorporate that structure, that schema, that entire idea of family unit with the type of importance, passion, priority that other people do. So we may misunderstand him, but I don't think that the approach to any of this is any less sincere. But the result of having this type of brilliant brain gives him, that deficit is in some of the other aspects, such as communicating with more grace, if you might, a little more etiquette at times or something, but you can't argue with the results, right? I mean, if the guy is batshit crazy, but he's able to get us to Mars, you gotta give him a little room. But maybe he needs a handler, kind of like R. Kelly. He could have used a handler. He could still be making records if he had a handler that's like, yo, tone this one down, man. Like, put the camera down. Put the camera down. Right? There's so many different ways people who produce amazing results have different ways of getting there. We don't all think in the same way that the educational system works, which is part of the reason why the educational system is ineffective in raising smart kids. Smart kids become smart on their own. They're not smart because of school. They're smart because they have an interest, a passion, and it becomes their driving interest. It's what they want to do, which is, again, part of my rant on the Boy Scouts. I'm very upset that the Boy Scouts were sued. That the concept, the thing that is Boy Scouts had nothing to do with what these sick individuals did. And I don't agree that the Boy Scouts harbored this type of environment. But things could have been handled differently, certainly. But to sue the Boy Scouts out of existence rather than prosecuting these people for a crime, come on. That's a little ridiculous. But to continue on my little rant with, and I appreciate it, Andrew, that you would suggest I turn my mic up so you can hear me push back a little bit on your Elon Musk thing. That I think the Tesla wasn't it. I think it's more kind of like the truck, right? Because he's got a great attitude when he smashed his truck, because the truck was a passion project, and it still is. And he laughs at failures because he realizes that every failure he learns from, because he takes it back to the lab. He takes his guys back to the lab. He hires really smart guys to tell him what needs to happen next, right? And that's how you do it, by failures. It's how you learn to play music. All the wrong notes teach you which ones don't work. It's simple as that, right? It's a successful series. It's a series of successful approximations. Each time you get a little better. Each time you get a little closer. It's like zeroing in a gun. Your first 3 shots are just for aiming. Now you know you're shooting a little low and to the left. So when you aim, you got to push your aim a little high and to the right, or adjust your scope if you don't have time. The bullets are whizzing, you compensate with what you know. Kind of like we do here at the Big Talker. specifically the asylum, with a single button pusher all morning long. But it's my passion. I mean, I had just gotten all this stuff to work, and they said, okay. And they did this to me when I first started my gig at NBC in Louisville at the NBC shop. One of the first things they did was taught me how to use a 2-inch videotape machine called a quad, because it was video done in 4 sections so they could do color. And each of the 4 sections had to be timed, and it was a brutal process. And they had me string tape after tape, time it, take it off, put on another tape, time it, until I was expert at it. Until my producers, my bosses could come in, look at the screen, and not know that it was a quad. And by that I mean that all 4 squares of that screen looked exactly the same, and the scene was seamless. And after about a week or 2 of doing this, they said, okay, there's a huge dumpster outside. We want you to push that quad into the dumpster. And in its day, it was like, $60,000, $70,000 worth of equipment back in the 50s, 60s when color TV came out. And the idea that they were pointing out is you are now entering a new phase of television production and delivery. And this was long before the internet was able to handle the bandwidth for video of any sort. Everybody was still using telephone modems to dial up to AOL. So we didn't have that kind of support technologically behind it. That sort of thing is happening now, again. And the delivery and change of that concept is along so many different industries, and I think the car industry is one of them, specifically the Tesla, that when a car idea comes out, everybody wants one, right? So when convertibles came out, everybody wanted one. Convertibles sell like hotcakes. But then and then wagons came out. Remember the family wagon of the 70s where you could carry like 15 kids and half of a Costco, right? And they were super dangerous. You could like kill all your kids in the back with, the little pop-up sideways seats with the little pit to put your feet in that went straight to the ground, right? And then we went into these cute little cars like the Pinto. Super low cost, super high risk, just like the stock market. But that's it. It's the Tesla is developing a technology and filling a niche at the same time, while also being marketably competitive. They're on the high side, they're on the expensive side, but there's a reason why an Escalade costs more than a Yugo. I mean, this is simple logic, that the Tesla has been built to a certain standard with this type of technology. And it's a fun car because you're not going to hop in a Prius and it's going to play the Trans-Siberian Orchestra while the lights and the doors. And I mean, if you're going to have fun with your technology, have some fun with your technology. I got a friend, Jim, I hope you don't mind me outing you on this. He's got an Audi. And he cracked the code on how the car works. And he's been able to customize how the lights behave when you turn the signal on or when you apply the brakes, or it's the ability, that's another smart person that can get into his car to the point that he can arrange the way the car behaves in response to everything that's already there, which I think is just like, dude, that's too cool. And that's without putting like stupid LEDs and squatting your truck. That's just the car itself, the way it came off the factory out of Germany. And you change a few lines of code, a few variables here and there, and suddenly when you put your key into the ignition, all the lights gently fade. And after the car starts, he's got it set up so he can, when he turns, I think it's when he turns the wheel or the turn signal, I can't remember. But if he turns on the right turn signal, the right driving light comes on, the right parking light. One of the lights on the right side comes on to sort of boost a little bit of illumination over there so you don't, roadkill some squirrel or chipmunk that unfortunately is there trying to grab a snack. It's little things like that. And he's got a list. And I'm sure he's not going to stop there. He's probably going to have like the Cougar If anybody remembers the old Ford Cougars with the lights that went out from the inside when you applied the brakes, or they would go out from the inside when you did a turn signal. It was an animated turn signal process, kind of like what the Tesla does. But again, those developments, those technologies, those customizations, that level of trim, if you will, is going to be unique to Tesla. And I think a lot of the people that are into or that have Teslas are also aware that they're propping up SpaceX in a way. I mean, all that money's going into a big bucket, and he throws it in a rocket and says, hey, did it work? Okay, cool, bill. Send the invoice. I mean, the cost of his SpaceX program is more money than many countries' entire GDP, right? I mean, and smart people aren't cheap. If they're smart, they're not cheap. That's sort of how it works. My stepfather was at Sandia National Laboratories for decades. He's a very smart person, and he wasn't paid, $15 an hour to flip burgers at Sandia National Labs, right? He's a smart guy. And I'm sure the doctor that he had on, and I had to deal with some things, so I didn't get all of the conversation on Elon. But the Ponzi scheme thing, I don't think it's as much a Ponzi scheme as it's a known coadjutant to SpaceX and his desire to get people to Mars. And I say people because in a lot of ways you have despotic tendencies among rich people that I want to go to Mars, I want to go to the moon, I want to do this. And that's what he's sort of catering to with this, is that all these billionaires that are like, I want to go to space. Okay, I can get you there. I'm good where I am, but I want mankind to be able to reach beyond this planet. And I can do that work best here. The people who do the space work should be people who are trained and experts in doing space stuff. That's sort of how his entire model works at PayPal, at Tesla, and at SpaceX. And it's a good model. You hire smart people who know what they're doing, and you say, all right, now what? Let us know what we need to do to help you develop this idea. Because, if you think about it, Elon built SpaceX. SpaceX built Dragon, right? Elon, it's not an A equals B equals C. Elon did not build Dragon, right? And I think there are a lot of people that are overly fan heavy that want to say, Elon's a genius and he made the Dragon. No, he didn't. He didn't make the Dragon. He made the team that made Dragon possible. And he did that by taking the money from Tesla and PayPal and not doing stupid stuff like, maybe he does have a super yacht. I don't know. But I do know that he put a lot of that money into saying, I'd like to get to Mars. I'd like to get us to Mars. I'd like to get people to Mars. And I'm pretty sure he's been consistent in his message that it's about getting people to Mars, not himself. So that's a small thing. That's my thing. But that's why I still consider him something of a hero in the science, sci-fi, sci-tech world. Because again, sci-tech, science, modern science technology is where sci-fi has been. We had the flip phones, right, that popped up in the 90s. But we also had the communicator on Star Trek back in the 60s. And then when the second, Next Generation, they had data pads. And we have those now. Foldable phones. I mean, much of the technology, the day-to-day technology, is not too far from much of its sci-fi cousins of even what was written in the 30s, 40s, and 50s. Very prescient. But that trend will continue, that our ability to bounce beyond the stars is not going to be next week. It's not going to be next year. But it is the curiosity in mankind that is going to get us there. And it's going to be people, as crazy as they may be, as difficult as they may be, as brash, as they may be, it's those people that are going to get us there. I don't think it'll be running Windows, though. I could see Linux. Right? I could see like a Debian install on Dragon. I'm not sure what they're using. But as far as, I don't think it's a Ponzi scheme. I think it's a known overcharge to help support the entire idea of what Elon's trying to do. And it's, it's got to be difficult that the country cannot all exist at the level of its greatest men. And I forgot who said that. And that's true, because we have an entire cross-section of humanity within our borders that goes from living in a van down at the river to living in a mansion at the top of the hill. We just have everything in between. We have groups that are larger than some people may realize. They just haven't been able to band together because they're not really of that mindset. They don't have the big enough worldview to be able to communicate those ideas and issues into a cohesive, coherent movement. Much like, if anybody remembers the Minitel situation back in the 70s or 80s, I think it was, 85. And that happened here. That is happening here. All these protests that seem to come out of nowhere, they're not coming out of nowhere. We know this. We're coming out of Facebook. They're coming out of Twitter. They're coming out of places where you can get a message out to, 15,000, 20,000 people at a time. We had television, so the first steps of Neil Armstrong on the moon were broadcast across the planet. I mean, that had a pretty good view rating. Might have gotten some retweets had it been available at the time. But now, part of my rant to go from here is that we have put more importance on celebrity status than we have on actual achievement. It seems it's more important to be able to twerk for 60 seconds on TikTok than it is to solve issues that face all of us. So TikTok viewers can, I'm not ragging on them. That's I am. Because we're paying for stupid. We're making stupid people famous. When the resources that these people are being handed could be better solved at understanding autism and being able to work with it. Being able to understand economics for everyone. Maybe getting a civics class developed that actually works in the middle school and high school level so that we don't have ignorant voters going into the polls thinking that they can overturn an election with a flagpole and a fire extinguisher. Right? We are a generation of idiots that can operate the hell out of a cell phone, but they cannot think for themselves. They cannot solve a problem. They cannot change a tire. I'm not asking you to time my car. I'm not asking you to replace the timing belt or adjust the transmission. Just, come on. If you get a flat tire, you should be able to pull over and not call AAA. There are things you should be able to handle on your own. There are the basic things you should know that are just not taught. Home economics was even in decline before I graduated, where it was more about home things like when to use starch and when to use baking soda and when to use baking powder. But there wasn't a lot of concern for, here's how mortgages work. Here's what due diligence is. Here's, some of the basics that would allow people to function with greater understanding when they're kicked out into the society at large. Because most of the kids, they're at the time, maybe more still so, to encourage to go directly into college. So there's no real world experience that they might have a side hustle working, maybe they're at a restaurant serving, which, it's not a fun gig and it's not a high paying gig and it's but it's still no understanding of the world. You're still seeing people that have clothes on and wear shoes coming in and eating food that they could just as easily prepare for themselves at home for 1/3 the cost. But it's part of the machine that we developed. That then they get into the real world and they understand, what's this reconciling checkbook thing? Why don't I have money? What's this late fee about? Oh, hey, 3% on a loan. That sounds absolutely fantastic. Oh, wait a minute. I have to put up $20,000. Where am I going to get $20,000? We need people like Ben Hawkins to educate on just the simple basics of mortgage and different types and what they do and how they work. We need people like Tom Goolsby to help us understand the economics and wealth development, how to make money work. We need cats like Yael Lasowski who can help us understand what's going on with Bitcoin, because we're not getting this in school. And I bet when Andrew comes on the program that if I were to ask him about this doctor, most of his education did not come from school. It came from him being curious and going out on his own and learning this stuff. Because our school system, again, and Andrew, I know, will agree with me on this, and so many other people will, that the education system is not cranking out smart people. Certainly not the public education system. And there are some educational systems that are designed to crank out politicians. That's where we are with it. We've become specialized in our education, except when it comes to our regular people. As Jennifer mentioned a couple of weeks ago, we're pro-life, but we're not pro-birth. Because once you're born, you're pretty much boned. Right? If you're not being raised by Elon Musk, you're pretty much going to have, crap for education. And that's not to say that the teachers are at fault, because they're doing what they can with what they have, and most of them are in it because it's an important, noble profession. And they are recognized with awards like the WWAY Award, or the award that WWAY mentioned during the news break. They don't get enough recognition, but that's not what's going to make the education system improve. Andrew was pointing out that a lot of the money that goes into education is going to the administrative and other cats, not with the educators themselves. Because we as a society, because it doesn't matter to us, because it isn't happening to us, don't see it as an issue. And we can continue to argue the subject, but we'll never address the issue in that manner. So my rant would be to empower the teachers to actually not only teach the material, but to encourage the students to explore their interests so that we can recognize their passions and their strengths earlier and cater an educational system that fits the needs of the child, the development of the student. Because not all of us are going to be Hemingways, and not all of us are going to be, rocket scientists. But the earlier we develop it, and this is not a new concept, the model I'm thinking of was actually developed by Gene Roddenberry. That's how he saw education, is that it became more of a system where we look at what the child needs and how they can benefit from it, not from a test-taking point of view where we're trying to win our budget. And I think somebody, oh no. From the sequestered location somewhere in North Carolina, the author, producer, director, and hometown hero, Mr. Andrew Donaldson of the ordinary-times.com, and the author, producer, director, and such of the Heard Tell radio program heard directly before the asylum on the morning show, has joined us. How are you doing, sir? Uh-oh. Where'd you go? I'm not hearing you now. And you're using Skype. And I have Skype all turned up. Where have you gone? Oh, this is Joy. This is all Joy. Give me a moment. Give me a moment while I fix this. Oh, no, that should be the right one because you're hearing me. But I'm not hearing you. That's really, really...
There we
go.
Was over the feed.
All of that was over the feed, I think.
I dislike that intro in inverse proportion to how Joni loved Chachi.
Now, did you like him when he was on Happy Days?
You know, I kind of missed Happy Days. I got it, kids my age, we got that stuff all on reruns on TBS back when it was Superstation. It wasn't even TBS yet.
Right. I remember that.
So there was...
Like 27 on the slider.
Yeah, so I got a lot of that stuff on reruns, if I got it at all. So I never really got into Joni and Chachi and Scott Baio all that much, because the Fonz is way cooler, and frankly, Father Dowling was way more interesting to me than Chachi, but that's just me. So
that's the Saturday Night Live skit, right? No, that's Guido. I'm sorry. Which one are you?
What's that?
The person you were just referring to, the father, whatever it was.
Father Downing?
Yeah.
You never watched Father Downing? The dad from Happy Days, I forget the actor's name off the top of my head. He played a priest that solved murder mysteries. It was on for forever. It's a great show.
What was it called
Father
again?
Downing. Father Downing.
No.
Yeah, I think I'm remembering this right. This might be a head injury issue, but let me double check.
Well, I may have already been on the road by then, and we didn't have TV on the bus, so.
Yeah, Father Downing Mysteries. The dad from Happy Days, Tom Bosley, plays a Catholic priest who stumbles upon murders. It's basically Murder, She Wrote, except he's a Catholic priest.
Okay.
But it was actually a really good show. It was on for a couple. I mean, it was on like NBC. This isn't like some, this was like a primetime show. But
yeah,
anyway.
I missed all that. So
it was also John Slattery, who later became famous for Mad Men. That was kind of his first little break in acting back in I guess that'd been the late '80s, probably by that point.
Yep.
But yeah, it was a good show.
That was
one of my mom. That was one of my mom's favorite shows. She liked that show. She liked that. She liked Scarecrow and Mrs. King.
I do remember the
that was
promos
Bruce
for
Boxleitner.
I never
Bruce
saw
Boxleitner early in his career. Remington Steele, which was of course Pierce Brosnan's big break.
Yep.
That was one of the shows
that was
she
Sybil
liked.
Shepherd too, right?
I believe so. Yeah.
And it ran for like 3 years and then died because everybody became too expensive.
Well, honestly, it was funny because the knock on the show was that it was a James Bond ripoff.
Oh well,
and
yeah.
Of course, Pierce Brosnan went on to become James Bond, so it just kind of went full. So
prescient in a way.
Yeah,
it was like a dime store novel version of Ian Fleming spins. Certainly.
Yeah.
So, catching your show earlier today, I was running into other problems, but y'all were discussing with the smart guy from NASA, right? Doctor something?
Yeah, Michael Siegel, who's one of our writers at Ordinary Times, and I've had him on he's been on the show. He's going to be a regular on the Hertel Radio because he's just so stinking smart. He has the greatest I blew a deadline excuse I've ever heard in my life. He's like, hey, I can't get the piece in because I got to go move the spacecraft because there's a comet coming through. And I'm like, wait, what? I didn't even know we did this stuff. He's like, yeah, there's a comet going past Jupiter, so I have to move the spacecraft because one, it's got to get out of the way, and two, is we're going to try to get some data off it. Like he flies spacecraft.
That's like Carl Sagan being able to turn the Voyager around to take a picture of Earth kind of power.
It's like Carl Sagan combined with the Bandit from Smokey and the Bandit.
Oh, nice.
He actually does the driving. He didn't just theorize it. But no, Michael's just a great guy. He's a really talented writer too. He does these YouTube videos where he's legitimately one of the smartest people on the planet. And he hates when I say that, but it's just true. I mean, he's got PhDs and
right.
He's married to a genius. His wife's a genius. His children are probably going to be geniuses. But
or rap artists.
but he can explain things in very plain language. He's not uppity at all. He has no airs to him. He does these great videos on YouTube. People ought to look him up, where he takes sci-fi stuff and then just explains it as an astronomer. Like he broke down Dune, like what he did and didn't like about Dune scientifically.
Okay.
And then one of his real famous ones was there was he's a big Doctor Who fan. In fact, he had his background.
I saw that. That was cool.
Yeah, that was from 3 or 4 Doctors ago, but he had the old school, like, inside the TARDIS background today I was kidding him about. He's a huge doctor. He did this deep dive on the episode where the moon exploded, but it turned out it wasn't really exploding. It was, like, pregnant and having a baby or some such. So he, like, broke down, like, okay, well, if the moon really was pregnant, then this angle of the moon's wrong. They should have moved it over here. Like he just does this whole YouTube clip on it.
Oh,
and it's
I've got to catch this now. I like.
But the best one he did was on Love Actually. And
is this a sci-fi? Because I miss a lot of movies.
No, it's a romantic comedy.
Okay, okay. From the title, I would assume that.
Hold on a second. I'm going to pull this up because I wasn't really thinking about this. But he does. He writes about stuff, and then he'll just break it down as a scientist. But his spouse, his wife, works on rDNA research, like the vaccine technology that we have for the COVID vaccines. That's what his wife's doing in the living room while he's doing all this space stuff. So he's been kind of our go-to guy on COVID for the last 2 years, both as a scientist and as somebody that's got pretty good background and inside knowledge on how that stuff works. So he's just an invaluable this is why independent media is exploding. You were talking about this a minute ago. Let me expand on it for a second. You know, when you go when you listen to CNN or MSNBC, and I don't even mean this as a knock, but every one of their panels is the same 6 people. So if it's a scientific story or a political story or a criminal story, it's the same 6, 7 people over and over again. You know, you cannot go on Indeed.com. I don't care how much money you have and how big your publication is. And if I tell you, hey, go hire a guy who's an astrophysicist who flies spacecraft, and oh, by the way, he likes to cook on his griddle, and he's a huge anime fan, and he can explain stuff in common language, and hire that guy because he doesn't exist.
Right.
But we've got him at Ordinary Times, and we've got him on Hertel all the time now. These are the people that independent media we have an ability to highlight because those are the folks I want to hear from because even with all his credentials and all his knowledge, I'm going to brag on him. He's going to hate this. Hopefully he's not listening. All his knowledge and all his, like he's got all the degrees on the wall, UVA. He teaches at a major, he teaches at a major university. If I said his name, everybody in America knows this university, which I won't because he's, he does this on the side of that. If you talk to him about NASA, he works with NASA. He can talk NASA. He can talk Tesla. He can talk whatever. And he does it in just plain language. But those are the people that we want to highlight in media because that's who we need because they're still a normal person. They're a functional adult.
But he's not going to make it in the mainstream unless he twerks on TikTok.
I will. Look, as an American, I will defend anybody that wants to twerk on TikTok.
Oh, no, that's not a problem. It's just that's where most of our interests are, and as a society, that's what we encourage.
I don't think we need to build our media model around it, but twerking has its place. Twerking, a matter of fact, Dick Van Dyke just had his birthday this week. I don't know if you noticed this. And they played a clip from the Dick Van Dyke show where they're all dancing from, I guess, the mid-50s, that would have been.
I remember this watching it coming in from home.
Tyler Moore, very young, in her prime, drop-dead gorgeous Mary Tyler Moore, is doing what we would now call twerking on 1950s U.S. television. Go watch the clip. I'm not making this up. Go look it up. It was all over social media the other day because for his birthday they were playing. It's just, the entire cast and, that legendary cast, so many people went on to be stars in their own right out of that show. You had like 6 other major all-time sitcoms that came out of just that show. But there's Mary Tyler Moore, and she turns around and does this, what we would now call twerking. And it was on 1950s U.S. television, but we're going to act all shocked and shaken like the Republic's going to fall because somebody twerks now. It's like, come on, give me a break. They've been twerking since the first, person decided to wiggle their butt. Just get over it.
But my point is,
be okay. We're going to survive it.
The point is on the larger scale that the TikTok stupid people we're making famous when it's smart people like this that we need to be hearing from.
I just think we need more. I hate to use this term. We just need more real people in our media.
Mm-hmm.
And Michael's real. Like the dude, like he's got the PhDs. He's got all the credentials. You know, he's
now, how much of it do you think? How much of those of his accomplishments, educational and otherwise, do you think is attributed to his own curiosity, passion, and drive?
100%.
Or was it public education?
I mean, clearly he's a big believer in education because he is an academic by trade. He still teaches. His favorite thing to do is he teaches introductory astronomy classes.
But he teaches people that want to be there.
Yeah, well, that's what he says. He's like, because it keeps me grounded of these are brand new students just learning about this stuff, even though he's, kind of at the pinnacle of it where he's, doing all the space stuff. And
he's flying spacecraft a million miles away. Hell yeah.
He'll talk about one of his formative things was when he got to do a test pan run for the Arecibo telescope. That's the one that just collapsed.
Wow,
That's
yeah.
He'll talk
that
about,
had to break his heart.
Yeah, it did. And Dennis Sanders, who's also was on this week and is on the podcast right now. He's from Puerto Rico. He talks about how just personally that was almost part of their identity. It's like, it'd be like the Air and Space Museum collapsing for us.
Right.
Something for Puerto Ricans. But anyway, I digress. But for Michael, and I don't want to speak for him because, we have him on the show enough, so I'll ask him next time I have him on. For him, he believes in education. He is an educator. He's in academia. But, that dude he's just a sponge. Like, he's listening to idiot me who doesn't know anything about anything, but he tries to learn something from what I'm saying. You understand what I'm saying? Not because I'm smart, but that's how his brain works.
Right.
He's always learning and always and that's how I am. I'm not real smart, but I'm clever. I'm always trying to learn stuff.
Now
I'm always trying to learn more things.
That's the perfect segue into my pushback on your Ponzi scheme thing.
I know, that's why I laid it out. Well, let me preface what you're going to say with this. I caught part of it. There's two lanes of criticism with Elon Musk. The business side of, and I'm just talking about the Tesla piece because I was up front. If you listen to I love the space stuff. This is good advancement of mankind kind of stuff, the SpaceX. And that's why I talked to Michael about it, because he can in detail explain no, all those exploding rocket ships are good because that's saving us 20 years of research every time he does that, that kind of stuff.
Right.
I love the space stuff. The way he carries himself personally is a huge issue, but we'll set that aside for a minute. The Tesla thing, there's two tracks to it. There's the theory and the concept and let me call it an aspiration. There's the aspiration of Tesla, and then there's the business model of Tesla. My criticism of Tesla is not the aspiration side of Tesla or even the technology side of Tesla. It's the business side of Tesla. And this isn't unique to Elon Musk. When you have eccentric, genius, inventor type people, they often have weaknesses in things like the actual running of their business. Look at all the tech firms like Facebook. Because to be visionary in one area, you're going to be deficient in another area. It's just that's why the best surgeons in the world are horrible human beings to try to talk to, because they have to turn off. To the large extent, they got to turn their humanity off to get to that level.
Yep.
And I'm not criticizing it. It's just, if you're going to be elite level great, you're going to have flaws as a human being in other areas because you just don't have enough bandwidth to be that elite great at everything.
Great way to put it.
So Elon Musk, as a human being, because he's a human like everybody else, has the business model of Tesla is not sustainable. It's not a car company. And my background's in transportation, so I know a little bit about what we're talking about here. That's not a car company. It's a luxury brand company. So if you look at it as a luxury brand company, it makes a lot more sense what they're doing.
I mentioned that.
It is not a car company. It is not Ford. It is not Chrysler. It is not
at all.
It's not a car company. So everybody that thinks it's a car company that's going to replace all the car company, you're out of your friggin' gourd and you have no idea what's going on. Because Tesla is never going to replace Ford. That's never going to happen, because Ford is going to take the technology stuff and they're going to do it better and more efficiently because they're actually a car company and know how to make money making vehicles. Tesla is not in the business of making money making vehicles because they don't have to, because they're subsidized. Ford and Daimler and every Volkswagen and every other car company in the United States of America, this is the dirty little secret of Tesla, is subsidizing Tesla. Tesla is making all their money off the other car companies. That's where they're getting their money, because they get all that subsidized money the way their business model is set up. So when I'm talking about it being a scheme, that's what I'm talking about. It's not that the technology ain't cool. It's not that the cars aren't cool. It's that this is never going to be a car company. It's never been a car company. It's never going to be a car company. So as long as you understand that it's a luxury brand and not a car company, then we're fine. But if you think they're going to take over for Ford, no, that's never going to happen, because they don't make profit. They don't make money because they don't have to, because that's not the business model for Tesla.
Oh, then I misunderstood it, because I thought I understood it as a luxury brand, that they're going to do things that nobody else does because they can. It's a toy car for them, right? That's why
it's a Gucci purse.
But it's also part and parcel to some of the development of technology going forward.
I'm good with that. Like you were talking about earlier. If you want to argue it's an evolutionary step, and it's an imperfect evolutionary step, but it's still an evolutionary step, okay, I'm good with that. I'm not against. Some people get nuts with this. I'm not against electric vehicle technology. The part I have a problem with is us deciding top down through society, the future is electric technology and vehicles. We don't know that. We're guessing at it. But because what's happening is we're neglecting other areas of advancement, because we've decided that the United States government is going to pour billions and billions of dollars into electric vehicles. So hydrogen research labs,
right. All of a sudden you have tunnel vision to the exclusion of all else.
And anytime you have tunnel vision and government money, it stifles innovation, because now everybody's going to run to the spigot of government funding.
That happened in the 60s with atomic energy too, wasn't it?
And it happened with vehicles too. Tell me all the great vehicles that came out of the 70s. Remember the late 70s? There was some bad vehicles. Why? Because we're going to do fuel technology. Remember, you're old enough to remember this. A lot of people don't. I don't remember it because I'm not too young, but I've read the data on it. How bad were the cars in the mid to late 70s for the most part? It was bad.
You mean pre-unleaded gas?
Yeah, it was bad.
These things, I remember.
Lemons, like you could buy a brand new car and it would die driving home. Like, that happened commonplace. That never happens anymore.
No, the efficiency, the amount of so my first car was a 67 Plymouth Fury 3, solid iron, 6 tons if it weighed
an I-beam.
Yeah, it was pristine with an attitude. It was an amazing car. But the burn ratio on it was really low. And as such, I didn't get a lot of power to the wheels. My little car now is amazingly efficient for the amount of power it can get to the wheels for each teaspoon of gas.
Yeah, because the technology is so good.
And that development, obviously, through electric cars, et cetera, and as you put it, the limit of bandwidth for the person running the show is where I guess since I don't understand business very well, obviously, or I would not be in a garage with a radio station, the person I can understand a little bit more, that I think some of the criticisms that he's receiving for who he is carrying himself has got to be difficult to do.
Well, and remember, he is under a legal binding agreement that he has to get some of his tweets about his company Tesla pre-approved before he can talk about it, because he's so out of control with what he says that.
So it's good he has a handler.
He needs a handler.
Many politicians could use a handler.
Well, some of them get too handly, but let's not get into that. But he's just one of those guys where you're going to get a lot of good and a lot of bad. Mm-hmm. And I'm just trying to be fair here. Because, again, the SpaceX stuff, I love he is advancing things, because the Starship stuff, Michael explains it. Please go listen to her tell this morning.
Yes,
this morning's program.
Great interview.
He explains it like all those, every time they basically just with Starship, that's the big pointy one, right? That looks like the old 50s, gag reel Starship. They go up and they explode, and everybody's like, oh, well, this thing never works. And they're like, no, they're doing that on purpose, because they've basically decided, hey, we can just burn through about 20 of these, get all the crash data, and then fix it as we go. And because NASA's so risk adverse, they can't do that. So they're doing it about a 5 years swing what NASA it would take them 40 or 50 years to do, because they can just take that risk and just, oh, it blew up. Well, here's the data. Let's build the next one. Because they're building it so cost efficiently, they just restack it because it's all modular, basically.
Right.
Yeah.
Which was a development from.
Not to oversimplify this, it's a grain silo with a rocket engine in it. That's all the it's the same concept. They just put the rings of steel on it, boom, dang, dung, put the engine in it, put the guidance package on it, and light it off. They're doing the Henry Ford of space travel is what they're really, really doing with SpaceX.
Mm-hmm. And that's what it's going to take.
And that's what it's going to take. And that's what Michael talks about is, this is people need to quit complaining about billionaires in space, because the billionaires have to go first to normalize it.
Yep.
And now you're already seeing it. Like, even Bezos' thing blew. Look how many people have gone up, like celebrities. You had Shatner go up. Michael Strahan, the NFL star, just went up. He's on Good Morning America now, too. He just went up. Like, you're seeing more and more people going up now already, and that's already been a short window. Like, in your lifetime, did you think you'd see William Shatner physically go into space?
No.
And it's already happened. And it wasn't that, I hate to put it, it wasn't a big deal.
And
like, go tell 1980s you that you're going to put William Shatner in space, and nobody's going to really. It's going to be a 5-minute news clip.
Right. It's going to be as normal as traffic accidents.
I don't think we stop to give Musk and Bezos and these other guys credit. Richard Branson got his space plane up. We talked about that a little bit. Like, his space plane is what the shuttle was supposed to be before government bureaucrats screwed it up. Whoops. We talked about that this morning. It's already normalized, and we don't even realize it.
Yeah, that's when I was a kid. Anytime NASA rolled a rocket out to the pad, school stopped.
Everything stopped.
Yeah, because we were witnessing in real time a human accomplishment of primarily America, but there was a lot of other involvement from around the world, other engineering, other companies providing equipment, et cetera, but we as a country, were witnessing our success, witnessing our achievement.
Yep.
And now it's as common as, tanker trucks on the highway, it seems.
And when I thought Apollo 13, the movie, covered this really good. Apollo 11 was like the pinnacle of human achievement, right? We put a man on the moon. By Apollo 13, nobody was paying attention anymore, and they covered it in the movie really well. Of like, hey, they're not even broadcasting this on TV. Well, nobody cares. And then the accident happened, and now everybody cares again. For my generation, I've wrote about this before. My first big news event was Challenger. Like, that's the first real news event that I remember. Like, and because I lived in West, we built it up because we were supposed to watch it at school, and watching something on TV at school was a big deal in 1986. Like, that was like, it took planning to do that. You didn't have TVs and cell phones. Like, it was a big deal to watch TV live at school. And then we had a snow day, right? So now we're home. So now you're crashed off of it. I'd almost forgotten about it. And then, like, it didn't happen live because nobody was watching the shuttle launch live. They broke into coverage for it. So me being a, kindergarten, first grade, whatever I was at the time, I just remember going to my dad and like, hey, the cartoons won't come on. I mean, I remember that vividly, complaining to my dad. I was like, the cartoons aren't on because, afternoon, the cartoons are on.
Yeah, that's when you get your bowl of cereal.
The cartoon's not on. And he walked in there with me, and I remember so vividly my dad for the rest of that day just sitting there with me trying to explain the unexplainable to a little boy who just saw that the world's a big, nasty, ugly place. Like, that's just one of the defining moments of my life. I remember because it's a school day. My dad was a teacher, so they're home too. So my dad spent the rest of my day. I remember sitting with my dad listening to Reagan's speech. Peggy Noonan wrote that, one of the greatest presidential speeches of all time. And I remember watching that with my dad that night. I remember spending most of that day with my dad, and my dad just trying to explain it to me in real time. And I wrote about it too. I'll send you the link. We can put it on the Facebook page. But that was my generation. It's that. Then the shuttle became, even after that, it became commonplace. And then Columbia happened. And I remember I was a supervisor in the Air Force at the time. I came off the flight line. I went up the stairs, and I've got troops just bawling, crying. I'm like, what in the world's going on? We were in Germany, and we're in this little it was like a warehouse, and it's like the upstairs office on the side of the wall in the warehouse kind of deal, right?
Yep,
It's basically a closet. And one of my airmen was just weeping. I'm like, what in the hell happened? And they're like, the space shuttle's burning in. Like, that's how they explained it to me, because I just came off the flight line. They're like, the space shuttle's burning in. I'm like, what do you mean burning in? Like, it's coming in and it's breaking up in returning to the atmosphere. It's burning in. And then I went around the corner because the TV was in the next room or behind a wall, and it was that, the images of, the fireball, and then it starts spraying. You remember the real ugly where Challenger was that one moment explosion. Columbia, it took like 20 minutes, or like it was drawn out. It was just brutal. So then it happens again. And I think we're just in that thing now where this is so commonplace. Nobody's really
It's
paying
only when the bad
attention to
news happens that we're going to get coverage.
We don't understand how people don't understand how much of the 80s the technology jump was stuff from the space program. And it wasn't stuff designed for what we used it for commercially, but it was stuff that just developed in the 60s and 70s from the space program. It was, stuff like microwaves, stuff like, even things like Velcro, microwaves, cable TV, closed circuit TV. This stuff all that stuff came from the space program. We don't realize it. So billionaires in space is a good thing.
And it was fun. I haven't been to Washington, but I did get to the Air and Space Museum in Dayton, Ohio, I believe it is.
It's the Air Force Museum, yeah.
Yeah.
Excellent thing.
Beautiful
Everybody
place.
should go to. Yeah, you need more than one day. It's that big.
It is a lot of fun. I lived near there and was able to visit a number of times. And one of the things that stands out still is if you look at the flight controls of the module, they have one of the splashdown module, the lander, whatever that unit is that they actually return to Earth in.
Yeah.
And it's as Spartan and small with big knobs and buttons, and it's to see Dragon, right? That deck shot of the Dragon with the touchscreens.
Yeah.
Is mind-bending that I think NASA would have the development, as you were pointing out, would have been still using 70s, 80s technology to get the bird in the air.
I remember when they made the last couple of years of the shuttle glass cockpit, and by glass cockpit, what I'm talking about is they have, modular screens instead of dials.
Yep.
So they have like multi-modular screens. They call it a glass cockpit.
Like the jumbo jets have been doing for a while.
Yeah, people forget the original orbiter of the space shuttle. It had analog dials on it still. I'm talking like in 2000.
Big knobs
and it still had analog dial. And NASA was throwing a fit about whether they should switch it to a glass cockpit. And then you get something like, SpaceX comes along and they just do it from scratch because they don't have to. This is where we talk about innovation and bureaucracy a little bit. Like, it wasn't even a thing. They're like, oh no, it's all digital, it's all touchscreen. They're not even considering it because they didn't. That's not even a slam on NASA. It's just they have to do things in a sequence. So that's just one example of just fresh eyes, fresh money, fresh way of approaching it. And that's why I asked him the question, because I was like, we're back to capsules now. We think of capsules being the 60s and 70s and then the space shuttle. Now we're back to capsules. And he goes, no, it wasn't Michael, I'm talking about again. He's like, no, it wasn't a waste of time. It was just a process of like, we found out what didn't work, and now we're back to this because we know it works and we're doing it better than we ever did it before.
Yep. And that's, true of just about any format, including, like learning how to play music. It's the mistakes that teach you.
Yeah. Yeah, but it's a great conversation. Heard Tell Show. It's on the. We actually have it on the Facebook page today, unlike yesterday where we had some. That was my fault.
It finally made it. It finally made it. It got there at 4.
And it's on all the podcasting platforms. You can watch it on YouTube as well. Please share it with folks. Let people know our little program's worth checking out because we think we're doing some really good stuff with it.
And what's cool is that we're not controlled by any corporate mandate or agenda, etc. Like you were pointing out with CNN, etc., that there's a particular line or, things they can't talk about or they must take this approach or whatever. We have none of those, so we can have pretty much anybody we want.
But think about this. to the folks at NASA in the 60s, the idea that you could run a radio station out of your garage that has worldwide reach on the internet would have been like trying to figure out how to put a man on the moon.
Yeah.
Like it would have been that foreign of a concept to an engineer in the early 60s of, oh yeah, we're going to have a multi-platform, multi-streaming radio station that's worldwide capable out of a garage.
Real-time video, audio, and call-in. All
like,
that.
I mean, like
Yeah.
I do interviews all the time because I work with Young Voices. You know, they have a UK branch, they have an Australian branch. I've done podcasts. I can sit in the closet in my bedroom and podcast with Avi Wolf had me on his podcast. He's in Israel. I podcasted with him from Israel. He's in Israel, and I'm in my closet, my walk-in closet, because I needed quiet because the kids and the dogs and everything. I'm in my walk-in closet recording an hour, 40-minute podcast with a guy in Israel.
That's
Like we do not understand the tech leap we're dealing with here.
and the generational gap as a result. Like, how many
Yeah, it's what we're
how many
talking-
people, like, did your family have a VCR with the Blink 12?
Oh, I remember. No, let me give you this one. My first concept of the VCR was you went to the video store and you rented the VCR with the videotapes because nobody could afford a VCR. The old top loader, and it came in a big bag.
remember that.
It
Wow.
came in the, you know, like the pizza delivery bag.
Yeah, it came
was
in a
big
bag.
padded up bag
With the cords
you
on
rented
top.
The yeah, you had to rent the VCR. You had to rent the converter splicer to plug it into your TV because nobody had splicers. You had to rent the splicer, rent the VCR, and then you rented a couple of movies and brought it back. I mean, we had first run movies on Super 8 that we'd watch on the reel-to-reel.
Oi.
I remember watching Disney Swiss Family Robinson on Super 8, no sound, had the title cards at home.
Wow.
I mean, we were backwards.
My
but-
parents weren't near that progressive. We did have a single color television that weighed about 100 pounds on a rickety ass cart.
Yeah, we had a TV, but we only had two stations, and one of them was PBS because we had over the air.
Right.
And even when we moved to the big city of 2,800 people, which is my hometown now, we still didn't have cable. We just had, you know, if it stormed just right, you could get 3 channels, and if it stormed the other way, you could get 4 sometimes. But
Right.
I had to go to my buddy's. My buddy but we lived right outside of town, up on our beloved Up Yonder mountain. I'd go to my buddy Jason's house. He had MTV and all that cool stuff because they had cable.
All the cool kids.
You know, because they were, you know, the townies have cable. We didn't have cable. We had to go out in the sticks. And then if you were really rich, people had satellite.
Mhm.
And I don't mean the little satellites like DirecTV now. I'm talking about like,
big swimming pool size.
yeah, I'm talking about like you can contact the next galaxy over things. And, you know, people had satellite, but it was just a different world. And, you know, I'm only 41, which it sounds old to some people and sounds really young to people like you that are aged. But, you know, it's amazing the tech jump. But think about it. Let me really just lay this out. I'm 41. My dad went to a one-room school until he was in 8th grade.
Wait, do that again. I was having audio.
No, it's fine. But my dad went to a one-room school until he was in 8th grade.
One room.
One-room school until he was in the 8th grade.
One teacher, one room.
And from my dad going to a one-room, and he went the entire. His dad had a side hustle of selling bunker coal. They had part of a small coal mine, and they'd go in and get coal and sell coal to people to warm their houses. They had the contract for the schoolhouse to do the coal. So him and his brother, he's not even old enough for school. Imagine kids doing this day that are like 7 and 4 years old or whatever it was. They'd have to go to the schoolhouse and stock it full of coal and stoke the stove in the middle of the school so the stove was on for the school. That was their job.
Wow.
And Dad was a year from going to school yet, and him and his brother Larry took the coal to the schoolhouse, Armstrong Schoolhouse. Building's still there, by the way. It's privately owned now, but the building's still standing. And
load
the
up
kids got a hold of the coal, and they had a coal battle, and they started throwing coal at each other like a snowball fight, but they were throwing coal at each other. Well, the teacher shows up, lines them up, gets a ruler, goes old school whooping and opens a can on all of them, including my dad, who didn't even go to school yet. And then she told them all to sit down, shut up, and they're going to have school after whooping them all with a ruler or a yardstick or whatever it was. So he sat down. He went to school every day the year before he was actually supposed to start school because she told him to sit down and go to school. So he just started going to school and nobody ever bothered correcting her.
Nobody was going to after that.
But we went from one-room schoolhouse to his son doing almost all his post-secondary education online. One generation.
Right.
Like,
And
do you understand the culture shift that is?
And to see, I mean, it's looking back on it, it's as revolutionary as watching electricity come down the street from my grandparents. They lived in rural North Carolina, and they didn't get electricity until, well into the 30s, I think it was. So they were already married with kids when electricity came down the street.
My grandparent, my mom's mom, they got electricity when they moved into the house that my parents still live now, because they had their eminent domain money. When they built the lake, they had to move back up on the hill, back up on top of the mountain, because they flooded their little town to make the lake. So they took their eminent domain money, they tore down the general store, took the lumber out of the general store, went on the hill and built the middle part of that house. It's been rebuilt like 4 times now, but it's the house my parents still live in. That's the first time they had it. That's the first time they had indoor plumbing or electricity, and that was like 63-ish.
Right.
63, 64, somewhere in there.
So
Because they finished the lake they opened the lake in 60s. Let's see, because Lyndon Johnson was president. He came and dedicated it. So it would have been, 67? Somewhere in there. But anyway, so, early 60s was the first time they had electricity and indoor plumbing. And they had to build another house to get it.
And that's the ability to understand the technology for them at that time was limited to pretty much a light switch.
Yeah, I find it fascinating that in my family history, my parents' generation is basically the first generation, going back as far as you want to go to the old country if you want to, that everybody wasn't just dirt poor.
Okay. So the access also was an issue.
All of them, all the way back as far as you want to go. And now all of a sudden, the post-World War II world, and they grew up poor. My mom grew up in something the English language doesn't even have as far as poverty goes. My dad, they didn't have anything. But they grew up, all those kids, both sides of my mom's side, my dad's side, almost all of them went to college, or at least had some kind of a major career. Like, they all did well for themselves. That's the first generation in our family for hundreds and hundreds of years that wasn't dirt poor. Why is that? Because there's a lot of factors that go into that, and I find them all fascinating, but we can talk about it after the break.
Yep. I was going to say we probably should start doing some music or something.
Got to pay some bills.
And recognize the people that are supporting the Big Talker Online.
All right, TK, you hit the money button, and we'll be back in a minute.
And I think that's the right one.
Keeping Bald Head Island informed. The Big Talker 106.7 FM WFBT, Carolina Beach.
Hey there, it's Charlie Miller, your state representative for Brunswick and New Hanover counties. Thank you for tuning in. Make sure to check out my Facebook page, Representative Charlie Miller, to stay up to date on everything that's happening in the state legislature. You can also sign up for my weekly legislative newsletter to receive a more detailed report on how the voices of District 19 are being heard in Raleigh. If my office can be of any assistance to you, please reach out at 919-733-6753. Paid for by the committee to elect Charlie Miller for NC House.
Well, hey, y'all, it's Holly Brewer
and Amy Ludwig and Kristen Ludwig
from Just Think, the podcast where we don't want to tell you what to think. We just challenge you to do it. We're happy to have some of our episodes featured right here on 106.7 The Big Talker on Saturdays at 11 a.m. So we hope you join us in the conversation, and most importantly, just think.
Hello, I'm Jeff Rivenbark with WWAY News. President Joe Biden toured 2 towns yesterday in the Midwest that were destroyed by tornadoes late Friday night. The president met with first responders and survivors in Kentucky and vowed to help their region rebuild. More than 30 tornadoes touched down in several states Friday night. The biggest one came through the western Kentucky town of Mayfield. The National Weather Service says it was an EF4 packing nearly 200-mile-an-hour winds. 59 people are still unaccounted for. In other news, CDC data shows the Omicron variant of the coronavirus now accounts for 3% of infections in the U.S. and is more transmissible than the Delta variant. The CDC's director says Omicron may account for as high as 13% of cases in some areas, including New York and New Jersey. The president's chief medical advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, says there's no need for an Omicron-specific booster at this time. Recent studies show a third dose of the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines provide more protection than the usual two-dose regimen. Back at the Cape Fear, we now know the name of a man killed in an officer-involved shooting in Pender County this week. The State Bureau of Investigation identified the man shot by deputies as 45-year-old Kevin Swinson. The shooting happened Tuesday in the King Tuck community after deputies went to serve a domestic violence protective order. They encountered Swinson, who officials say had a gun. The deputies involved were Grant Simi and John Drago Castano. No word yet on what led up to the shooting. And some big news this morning for a teacher in the Cape Fear. New Hanover High School English teacher Abby Nobles was named the 2022 North Carolina Southeast Regional Teacher of the Year. Earlier this year, Nobles was also named New Hanover County Schools High School and Overall Teacher of the Year. Congratulations. For more on these stories, head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Jeff Rivenpark. Have a great day.
Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. We are going to see beautiful weather in store for us once again. More sunshine and a few clouds, but temperatures are going to be running almost 15 degrees above the average. If you're inland of the coast, we're jumping into the middle 70s for afternoon highs and lower 70s for the coastal areas. But tonight, we do drop back down into the middle and upper 50s, so we stay mild with partly cloudy skies and perhaps some patchy fog developing overnight tonight. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Hey everyone, Ben Hawkins here with Cross Country Mortgage. Rates are still at historic lows, and there has never been a better time to purchase your dream home or refinance your existing. With over 300 loan products including conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, and jumbo, we are certain we have the right loan product for you and your family. Call me today to be pre-qualified to make the offer on your next dream home. 910-352-3373 or visit my website at lendwithben.com.
Hi, this is Justin Humphreys from the Humphreys Law Firm on Eastwood Road. The Humphreys Law Firm is located in Lumina Station, Wilmington, North Carolina, practices civil litigation, intellectual property, commercial, and residential real estate. Please give us a call at 910-332-0721 or visit us on our website, which is www.humphreysfirm.law. You can also listen to me every Thursday from 6 to 7 p.m. on the Big Talker 106.7 FM.
If you want to talk about culture and politics without all the caterwauling, then you'll love Hertel Radio with me, your host, Andrew Donaldson, every weekday morning, 6 a.m. with a replay at 3 p.m. right here on the Big Talker. Catch it on the Listen Live tab on the app or watch on the Facebook page.
And we're back on the Big Talker Online with the Asylum, and the Big Talker Online with Andrew Donaldson of ordinary-times.com.
And it's been a banger week for ordinary-times.com.
Yeah.
Y'all really need to go read it and look up. We got everything from Advent music, student loan debate. There's a great piece out, if you want to break from politics, John Prosciutto, he wrote about the Army-Navy game, one of the great American traditions. He went to the Army-Navy game this past weekend and wrote about it. Great piece. M. Carpenter, who's on Hertel Radio with me frequently. In fact, she'll be on Monday's show breaking down this particular piece, her Wednesday writ piece on the SB 8 and the abortion stuff, the legal side of it. Just all kinds of great stuff on there. Becca wrote a piece on toxic femininity. You want to talk about it? Something that got controversial in a hurry. She said we're going to talk about...
That just sounds like alcohol and, gasoline and fire.
She's like, we're going to talk about toxic masculinity. We got to talk about toxic femininity. So that piece has been doing really well. Atomic Kristen, who's one of the best writers in America, and I'm not saying that because I've got her, but because it's true. She is tremendous. She's back from hiatus, and she wrote a piece about Siskel and Ebert and talks about criticism. as in movie criticism and art criticism, and how we need good critics, and we have too much corporate branded culture, and we've lost the critics now, and that's important. Eric Medlin, local guy, he's up in the Triangle. We had him on the old rodeo show at the old Big Talker before. Great dude. He writes local North Carolina histories, among other things. Good dude. Folks might want to follow him. He's got a piece out about the Supreme Court. And he's got another piece out today about student loan debt and the debate. The Democrats are kind of tearing themselves apart about it. Just on and on and on it goes. But it's a lot of stuff you'll disagree with. It's some stuff you might agree with, but it's all worth reading and checking out. And those folks are worth supporting. So a little shameless promotion there. But Ordinary Times has had just a really, really strong couple of weeks, and our contributors are just killing it. So
wow, yeah. They're trying to get it all in before the holidays so they can just drink all the brain cells away or something.
Brian O'Nolan's been doing these daily Advent posts on music. We've talked about it a couple times already. I was like, you're just going to abandon me for the whole month of January. I can feel it coming.
Well, you could almost rerun it in reverse.
He writes stories. By the way, if you liked hearing Brian on the show, and he was on my show, and we'll have him on again, he writes he has an ongoing series called Mike and Me, where it's him and a fictionalized Mike Pence have all kinds of zany adventures, like going to the gathering of the Juggalos and things like this.
You could almost do a Go to White Castle movie out of it.
Oh, he's got some winners on there. And then he also wrote pieces like Whatever Happened to Dora the Explorer, and it turns out she's a luchador pro wrestler in Mexico now. That one's one of my personal favorites. I love that one. So
at least she's employed.
Hey, nothing wrong with working where the work is, man.
Yeah. That's, do what you can with what you got, even if you have to steal it. Oh, wait, no. Sorry, kids.
You got to quit saying stealing on the air, too. We've talked about plausible deniability before, TK.
Yeah.
But the other good thing this week, week 2 in the books of Herdtail Radio, I think it's going pretty well. We're pretty well of it. We've had a lot of technical problems this year, but I don't think it's showing on the finished product too awful much, hopefully. But the guests have been fantastic, and folks are finding it. So Herdtail Radio is 6 a.m. and 3 p.m. Right here on the Big Talker. And then, of course, all the podcasting platforms and YouTube, Herdtail Show. Check it out because it's good, and if y'all keep supporting it, we'll keep doing it.
Yep. And I'd like to kind of do a poll for those listening to go to the website and send us a thought, a message, an idea, what you think of bringing back the Chad Adams Show.
I would love to have Chad on. Like, we should have Chad doing something if he's listening. I don't know Chad personally, but I've always enjoyed his take on things. He knows, especially state-level politics in and out. So, yeah, I
and
for
his
one,
rapid-fire delivery is beautiful.
He's entertaining. Like, even if you're going to disagree with him on him, you're still going to enjoy the program because he's entertaining. He knows how to do it. He's way better at radio than any of us are. So, we have to work hard to be good at it. He just kind of shows up and does it naturally. So, yeah, we definitely need Chad Adams doing stuff. So I'm all for it.
I'd like to see some listeners, viewers, head to the website, click on the email, captain@redwolfbc.com, and, let us know. I was thinking like a 2-hour show because he's a busy man. He's got a lot going on. I think his wife is running for office. So that campaigning is going to take a lot of energy. And it is, it's going to be a demand on him. Yeah. Plus, he's running the jewelry store. But
yeah, I would love to have some form of him back on the air, and I'm sure at some point he will because he loves to do it too. So hopefully that works itself out.
That's what I'm hoping for. So if people want to, and you can support us other ways. One of them is to come and buy this stacked washer dryer that I have in my garage. It was pulled from a remodel. It's in great shape, and it's been donated to the Big Talker Online. That as a fund, whatever money is generated will be used to keep the Big Talker running. And I'm sure we'll be gathering some more. I think we have some kitchen base cabinets coming. So
the Big Talker Marketplace.
Yes, this is the Stop and Swap.
The Stop and Swap. When I was a kid, I always thought they were saying swamp meat. I'm like, why is everybody going to a swamp meet? What's so great about a swamp? But it's a swap meet. But
Well, when you live in the desert, a swamp is pretty exciting.
Yeah.
Yeah, we don't.
What's the old Kermit the Frog song about, life in the swamp?
It ain't easy being green.
It's not easy being green, and I'm still upset that he married Miss Piggy, and then they just blew it off like that never happened.
Yeah, no. Once
when family values in America really died, was Muppets Take Manhattan.
Well, when Muppets left Sesame Street and went out into the bigger world, it ruined the Muppets forever. Like, if you're going to do Muppets, you should do it in a separate movie like Labyrinth or Dark Crystal or something like that. But you don't take the Muppets from Sesame Street and put them in New York and expect them to remain untainted.
We're talking about a talking frog and talking pig. I mean, yes. Tainted is kind of a...
Well, anthropomorphizing aside, the
say that 3 times fast.
Not without my coffee. So, doing that in New York and the other adventures that they had, I think, sort of ruined their characters anyway.
I don't know, because I love...
No?
Remember about a year ago when Disney Plus came out and they re-aired the Muppet shows, and then they had the big controversy because some of it was culturally and politically incorrect from the 70s to today, so they had to take a couple of them off.
When Disney Plus launched, I had an issue from the outset, and still do not have it.
Well, now just
But I could see how they would have trouble with it.
Yeah, there was some cultural and some of it was stereotypes and tropes and things that probably needed to be updated. But they my thing is those things are kind of, I think it's more educational to leave the time capsule in place, and if you want to put a little caption on it like this is of this period or whatever, and explain it that way.
Kind of like a Wikipedia update. This has since been corrected to include.
Yeah, you can just put a title card on there. It's like, hey, this is from the 70s, and people were more open about their prejudices and hadn't learned how to hide them yet for social media branding purposes yet. Let's just be a little positive. Let's just be, real about things.
Truth bomb.
Well, no, I how do I say this delicately?
Well, no, it's wiping away the smudge on the mirror that's hiding something. Really.
I work really hard just as a human being to make sure that I'm aware of when I do have a bias or a prejudice or whatever, because every human being alive has prejudices. We all do. It's part of being human is you have to learn what they are, recognize them, and work on them, because that's just part of your basic adulting skills that should be in your toolbox.
I think it's a survival skill.
Well, especially if you want to, be any kind of a productive person in society, you got to learn to do that, which explains a lot of social media, but let me not go down that rabbit hole. We'll be there all day. But what is happening is social media, you yourself as a brand. So if the people that you're trying to be in an in-group with have biases of a certain kind or prejudices of a certain kind, you're going to amplify those because it automatically gives you currency with those in-groups.
Right.
So so the incentive is almost inversed now to not work on yourself. You're almost refining yourself to be things that you probably shouldn't be in the first place, but you're doing it because it gives you cachet with certain groups on social media and other places. So that's what's happening with that. But when it came to something like the Muppets, when you update it, it does kind of start to lose some of the magic that was there to start with.
Right.
I don't know how to explain. It's almost like when you're used to something being hand-drawn animation and then it's digital animation for the first time, it just kind of jars you.
Yes.
Like if it started out as digital, it wouldn't jar you. Like the Muppets were very progressive for the time period they were introduced in. They were extremely progressive.
Yes.
But 45, 50 years later, they're not progressive anymore. They're almost regressive in some ways.
Well, they're
without
retro.
Being right, but that's,
Because they don't need to upgrade. Because the magic is still kind of there if you allow yourself.
You have to understand that things have shelf lives. even things you love. Like, there's no such thing as enjoying life without death. That's the cycle. Like, if something isn't finite, then it's never going to have meaning. And human beings, we don't like to act like that, but our lives have meaning because we die. If we live forever, none of this crap would matter.
Right.
You know, you only got so many heartbeats. You only got so many words. So some of this is understanding that, you know, maybe some of these brands that we love just aren't meant to go for 40, 50 years. You know, Disney is proving right now that, you know, sometimes franchised type properties should just be left alone.
Okay.
And they're getting these 100-year, you know, copyrights where they have, you know, dominion over these things in perpetuity. It's just not healthy because, you know, they don't have a natural life cycle anymore. They're just going to live forever, and they outlive their life cycle. And then it turns into, people want to talk about woke and other things. It's not just that. It's just once something becomes stale and commonplace, it gets co-opted by everybody, and then it doesn't have its meaning anymore. And
Right.
I think it's
Hijacked
and
turned into something bigger than it was. I mean, more powerful than it was meant to be.
Right.
It's given more.
When Kermit can't flirt with the hot Hollywood actress anymore to make Piggy jealous, you know, you lost the Muppet Show because that was the whole gag. I mean, it was subtle. It was subtle enough that, see, here's the other thing that we've lost. There was kid entertainment. Where did you go?
Good morning.
There we are.
Look at you.
Hey, everybody.
I'm pulling off some magic here.
Well, but no, what I was saying was, something that's been lost now is we have to have kid-specific entertainment. Like every YouTube video I got to upload, I got to mark whether it's for kids or not. All entertainment used to have that subtle, slight stuff for the adults built into it, and you can't do that stuff anymore.
Right. I think
go back and watch what used to be quote-unquote kids shows, all the double entendres they slide in there, and, you know, they build in all the adult stuff, and you can't do that sort of thing anymore.
That's sad.
And you wind up with something, whereas those things were multi-layered and they lasted a lot longer. Now they have a more limited lifespan because they don't have those layers built into them anymore.
So they're only relevant for the week or the month.
Yeah, it becomes all the same.
Because you're limited more and more on what you can do and how far you can go.
I mean, power ballads were awesome, but, you know, you can only do CBG so many times, so many ways, and it just all starts sounding the same. You know?
Yeah. Carry on, my wayward son.
Carry on, my wayward son. Good morning, fellas. I'm sorry I missed you guys. I'm calling live from Clemens, North Carolina. It's a fine morning.
Well, I've got.
You're on your way back
so
from
this
Tennessee.
Is like a tag team thing. I can tag you in, and I can bolt out. So good timing. Worked out well.
Look at that organic programming here on the Big Talker.
Somebody's got to babysit TK.
It's just
it works
silent.
Naturally.
I was unattended for nearly an hour and a half.
That the FCC didn't show up with helicopters is a miracle, but I'm glad we got through it. Good job,
So
Terry.
the feds still aren't onto us. That's good.
Well, no, I mean,
That's good.
I have a rotating IP VPN.
I will be traveling back this evening.
Oh, okay.
Back to the glorious Wilmington. I appreciate you guys giving me the morning off from the hijacking. Yeah,
no worries.
Very seldom is it where a hijacker can kind of leave and then come back and everything's okay.
Well, it's sort of the
teamwork
same
makes the dream work, even in hijacking. But it's
and
like
theft.
the old. You remember the Matterhorn game on The Price is Right, where the dude climbs the mountain?
Yeah.
That was TK this morning. He was just lugging this thing like a Sherpa up the mountain. Luckily, a couple people could jump on before he fell off the cliff, and Bob Barker has to go, oh dear. So
it was worth it just to see my family and everybody. I'm gonna wish them farewell. And they go back to
that's why
Tennessee.
they're not on Facebook. Okay.
Oh yeah. I'm here with our number one fan, my mom.
Okay.
Oh, you got to put her on.
Oh, Mom, would you like to say something to the audience? Oh no, she's shy now. She's shy now.
Oh, okay. Brave behind the keyboard.
We have built this up for weeks. This is a part of the brand. You have to make
We're waiting
happen.
for the Dustin's mom's segment.
This is the payoff, man. You can't
She's
build up
with her granddaughter right now. My daughter's keeping her busy, and if you think we talk a lot, you should hear my daughter. Yes, she will keep you talking for a long time.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, she's practicing.
What?
She's practicing.
Yeah, oh yeah, she's practicing. One day I'll hand the microphone to her and she'll carry on.
Now, can she do voices yet?
Yeah, she could do a couple voices, imitations. She's working on it.
Nice.
But can she imitate you yet? Because that's when you know you've got something going.
She imitates me. She imitates me very well.
Like when you're driving. Oh, crap.
But yeah, I really appreciate you guys holding the reins today, man. But
not at all.
I make coffee. North Carolina is very nice. They have an area out here. We're at the Marriott, and it's like a Mayfair out here. Brick everything, cleaned up, really nice, and the weather's not too bad either. It's not that cold.
Nice.
But I'm getting ready to make the perilous journey back.
Well, we're about to have wonderful weather here. I think a high of 72.
Yeah, it was actually pretty nice out. I didn't have ice on the car this morning, so it was a little nicer. It's been pretty frosty, so.
Yeah, that's a good sign.
They did something pretty fancy here in the hotel, and I've never seen anybody do it before. They have the table set up out there in the lobby, and they've put gift wrap around the legs of the tables. And I never thought of it, but I mean, it was like, wow, that's pretty simple, and it does a pretty good job.
Okay.
Cover a thing in Christmas wrapper.
In fact, before Andrew goes, I don't know if you caught the happy little Christmas story I shared earlier this morning.
Oh, I don't think I did.
Yeah, the lady whose laptop I've been using for the past few months was contacted me, and it's quite possible we will have her laptop back to her in beautiful shape.
I was with you that morning.
By Christmas.
I was guesting for you the day you found that. I remember that.
Yeah.
So I'm Christmas miracle.
Yes. So I'm pretty excited to be returning that to her.
October miracle.
TK, you turned out to be like Santa Claus, man. You're making some nice Christmas.
Yep, it's been in good hands. It's been used well.
I remember you finding that because I was guest hosting that morning. And,
yeah, that's what it was. Because I remember I was in there at like 5 in the morning for something, and I cannot remember.
You were there with me because I was guest hosting, and I always get in early and do my prep, unlike some folks that won't go mention. And
you're welcome.
Yeah. But you found that laptop, and you're like, what do I do? And I'm like, well, you never know.
Yep, I held on to it for a couple of weeks, and one day I needed the power that was within to maintain an income, and I hacked my way in, got it working, and it'll be restored to its previous condition, delivered buff, and we're working on a replacement for me that will come in a box that I will put hers in and send off.
Yeah, I desperately got to get a new computer, keep doing the show. But you guys, I've got to bounce. I got a call. I got to jump on. But y'all have a great morning, and try to get your mom on there. We need that segment. That needs to be a radio.
Yes, Dustin's mom. Hey, thanks again, Andrew, and we'll talk to you soon.
Have
no
a good
worries,
day,
guys.
Andrew.
Make sure you check out the show tomorrow. It's going to be a good one.
Merry Christmas, and we will tune in.
See y'all tomorrow.
Take care.
See you tomorrow.
Bye-bye. All right, so now we only got 30 minutes left, which is great. If you want to take a break real quick, we will be right back. I can't find my mouse. Oh, no, the mouse batteries have died. This is going to be fun. Hang on. This is going to take
If there were ever a time where you needed superpowers.
Oh, man.
And stuff. Now's the moment.
Pikachu, I choose you. Oh, man, wait. Okay, wait.
Hello, I'm Jeff Rivenbark with WWAY News. President Joe Biden toured 2 towns yesterday in the Midwest that were destroyed by tornadoes late Friday night. The president met with first responders and survivors in Kentucky and vowed to help their region rebuild. More than 30 tornadoes touched down in several states Friday night. The biggest one came through the western Kentucky town of Mayfield. The National Weather Service says it was an EF4 packing nearly 200-mile-an-hour winds. 59 people are still unaccounted for. In other news, CDC data shows the Omicron variant of the coronavirus now accounts for 3% of infections in the U.S. and is more transmissible than the Delta variant. The CDC's director says Omicron may account for as high as 13% of cases in some areas, including New York and New Jersey. The president's chief medical advisor, Dr. Anthony Fauci, says there's no need for an Omicron-specific booster at this time. Recent studies show a third dose of the Moderna and Pfizer vaccines provide more protection than the usual two-dose regimen. Back at the Cape Fear, we now know the name of a man killed in an officer-involved shooting in Pender County this week. The State Bureau of Investigation identified the man shot by deputies as 45-year-old Kevin Swinson. The shooting happened Tuesday in the King Tuck community after deputies went to serve a domestic violence protective order. They encountered Swinson, who officials say had a gun. The deputies involved were Grant Simi and John Drago Castano. No word yet on what led up to the shooting. And some big news this morning for a teacher in the Cape Fear. New Hanover High School English teacher Abby Nobles was named the 2022 North Carolina Southeast Regional Teacher of the Year. Earlier this year, Nobles was also named New Hanover County Schools High School and Overall Teacher of the Year. Congratulations. For more on these stories, head over to WWAYTV3.com. I'm Jeff Rivenpark. Have a great day.
Happy Thursday, everybody. I'm WWAY meteorologist Ramel Carpenter with your Storm Track 3 forecast. We are going to see beautiful weather in store for us once again. More sunshine and a few clouds, but temperatures are going to be running almost 15 degrees above the average. If you're inland of the coast, we're jumping into the middle 70s for afternoon highs and lower 70s for the coastal areas. But tonight, we do drop back down into the middle and upper 50s, so we stay mild with partly cloudy skies and perhaps some patchy fog developing overnight tonight. Get your full forecast on WWAY and WWAYTV3.com.
This news and weather is brought to you by Two Men and a Truck. For your free quote, go to twomenandatruck.com. twomenandatruck.com.
Hey everyone, Ben Hawkins here with Cross Country Mortgage. Rates are still at historic lows, and there has never been a better time to purchase your dream home or refinance your existing. With over 300 loan products including conventional, FHA, VA, USDA, renovation, and jumbo, we are certain we have the right loan product for you and your family. Call me today to be pre-qualified to make the offer on your next dream home. 910-352-3373 or visit my website at lendwithben.com.
Folks, we all know ongoing road construction and traffic can weigh heavy on your vehicle. Since 2006, O'Leary's Automotive Repair has provided comprehensive repair services at affordable prices to get you back on the road in no time. Their ASE certified technicians will help you find a cost-effective repair and maintenance alternatives. O'Leary's has multiple locations in the area in Hampstead, Leland, the Myrtle Grove area, Ogden, and Wrightsboro. O'Leary's Automotive Repair, a trusted, locally owned business since 2006.
I am State Farm Agent Rob Renz, and I want to help you get to a better place. Visit us online at ilminsurance.com. That's ilminsurance.com. Like a good neighbor, State Farm is there.
All right, here we go. Hey, it worked that time. That's...
Hello?
All right, if I did this right, the Big Talker Online is back from the message break with Matt Mylott from Signal Fire and Dustin, the security guard, Sir Knight. How are you guys this morning?
Doing good, doing good.
How's it going at Signal Fire? We have production this afternoon with the chamber. Yeah, things are moving. I mean, we're trying to develop so many things in the community, and I know that Signal Fire supports the veteran community because we do several, like the Veteran Business Community Podcast, the Signal Fire Podcast, and a number of other programs. And this is one of the new ones you're working on?
TK, are you talking to me?
Yes, sir.
I'm confused what's going on.
We're part of the Asylum on the Morning Big Talker Online. I thought you were calling in for, because I've been trying to reach to get some, like, veteran stories of, heroes, to remember them, normally on Friday, though. But I'm good. we need the content. We're about to have family hour with Sir Knight, who is sequestered. Where are you? Somewhere in like Western North Carolina?
Clemens, North Carolina this morning at the beloved Marriott.
Oh, okay. But yeah, we got lots of projects going on trying to keep the Big Talker online alive. In fact, we have a stacked washer and dryer for sale. All the proceeds from that will help keep the Big Talker online. I'm trying to talk my boss into getting T-shirts where we can have T-shirts made up that say "I helped save the Big Talker online," which you can wear right. And if you're raking shirts or if you're raking leaves in the yard and you don't want to ruin a good shirt, then you can use this shirt and not worry about it. Right? And you do get to help save the Big Talker by getting a T-shirt that says "Help Save the Big Talker." Anyway.
I would buy one.
Yeah.
I know 3 people right here in this room that would buy it.
Right. And that's like a month of internet right there. Or maybe one of our, internet subscriptions.
And I'm surprised, man, at the hotels. I mean, you just look at these hotels. I mean, they get the brick outside. They have the fascia and just the blue fancy lights. I feel like I'm at the Bellagio, man. It's a Marriott.
Do the lights change color or they stay blue?
Beautiful.
Are they like blue all the time?
They're blue. They're blue. It's like you walk into a club at the Marriott.
Okay.
Yeah, I thought they were going to have a bouncer out front, man. Yeah.
Hey, man,
they have one of those fire pits with the little rocks out there that you press the button and the flame comes up and they got all the funky chairs around there. It's like the Roxbury at the Marriott.
Nice.
But back to the Signal Fire, I mean, the work that they're doing is great. Like, and to see that, and we need that in North Carolina. I mean, there's multiple military bases. There's a bunch of people
transitioning
out there.
Yep, a lot of the community seems to be growing and transitioning, if I'm not mistaken.
And we talk about having opportunities for everybody, all the different people, people coming back out of the criminal justice system, all that stuff, and we should have opportunities readily available for the veterans and stuff. I mean, because they're ready to get back to work, they're ready to get into the workforce. And they should have that opportunity. If I can get a job, somebody who fought for the country should be able to get a really good job.
Right. It only makes sense. But
I'll tell you, have you stayed at a Marriott?
Not
I used to sleep
in a
on
while.
Marriotts, but literally, I mean.
I do. Well, one of the nicest hotels I stayed at when I was touring was the Crown Hotel in New York. That was pretty sweet. But as far as because it's fancy and it's modern, it was really cool for 1990. But the coolest, biggest hotel was probably the West Baden Hotel in French Lick. There's a couple of spots out there that are just amazing. The gardens alone are worth the walk. It's like there is no. Literally, you are far enough away from the world that the rest of the world just goes away.
And we were at a Holiday Inn not too long ago, and it was the same thing. Funky blue lights. I mean, just you walk in there, everything is artistic. They got paintings and stuff, and you could take the lotion, you could take the bars of soap, you could take all that stuff, but do not take the art off the wall because that stuff is made by like actual artists and stuff.
Right, all that was restored.
That thing, there's probably a price tag for $1,000 behind it.
Yeah, they were moved and taken care of when they did the reconstruction and updating and all that. So it sounds like you guys are having quite the fete over there, the afternoon soiree.
Well, if you wouldn't mind, my father, he probably has a couple words of wisdom for everybody. Trust me, he's domesticated. He knows that it is a PG thing. We've really worked a lot of kinks out, and I'm really proud of us for doing that. I remember what the first week was, no filter, and now we've managed to kind of really, really clean up our language. And usually, I mean, that's something that a lot of people aren't too proud about. Me,
they don't know what we don't say.
You go for 3 hours without cursing. like I said, we need a cardboard kid to put in the studio just so we think a kid is there, so we clean up our language. But here's Sir Knight and Noble, my father.
Good morning, folks.
Good morning. Welcome to the show, Dustin's father. I guess you would be, what, Sir Prince?
Name's Drew. Just call me Drew, okay?
All right.
Yeah, I hear you guys show every morning. Enjoy it. I got a little something to share with you that happened to me in the lobby this morning.
Uh-oh.
And I call this libtard logic, okay? Because I was sitting out there and they were talking about vaccine mandates, and this guy was really on fire and believed in vaccine mandates. And I'm saying, how can you even say anything like that? Isn't your body supposed to be sacred? Is my body my choice? That doesn't mean anything. And basically, I couldn't follow his logic. So my takeaway was this from him. This is his scientific explanation as best as I can figure. If a chicken and a half takes a day and a half to lay an egg and a half, how long does it take a grasshopper with a wooden leg to kick all the seeds out of a dill pickle? That's what I get out of this.
Ham slices because you can't wear a hat on the roof.
Exactly. It makes no sense.
It's perfectly logical.
And look, we Americans, we need to start taking clear sides on these issues. There's only two things found in the middle of the road: a yellow streak and dead armadillos. So you got to pick out which side you're going to take. So I'm really proud of what you guys are doing. Enjoy your show, and I'm going to get off here and hand the reins back over to Dustin, okay?
Thank you so much. I was having a cable failure at the exact
and for anybody who has any questions about me, that was my upraiser.
Okay.
So that's what brings you the man before you.
I bet the elevator ride to the 14th floor would be a blast with him.
Oh yeah, especially in a room full of people.
Well, if it's a captive audience, you have even more leeway, right? Because it was like my first band. I told you about my first band, right? The band, the show was free, but it was $20 to leave before we were done. So it made a lot of money.
On the way out.
Yeah. Yeah, you got. If you're gonna leave early, if you sit through the whole thing, it's like the timeshare. If you sit through the whole thing, you get a free toaster or whatever.
You get the continental breakfast.
But if you leave early, it costs you $20.
I mean, the continental breakfast here is crazy too, because they have.
Okay, so let's break down the word continental. Continental is supposed to mean like an international variety of flavors. So that somebody from India and somebody from Brazil and somebody from Germany and somebody from Southern California would all enjoy something from the continental breakfast. Now, tell me, how continental was it? You had, what, crackers and coffee?
Continental, as far as international continental breakfast, no.
They had a croissant.
Disappointed. You have pancakes, you have croissants, you have turkey sausage. I think they have real sausage upon request.
Oh.
And omelets.
Okay, so they're actually. I was going to say they
there.
actually tried. Okay, this one's better than some that I had when I was touring.
But my daughter was mesmerized by the pancake machine.
Oh.
Because you put the batter in there and like it has the open window. Kind of like, the cows that they put the viewport in,
Okay.
So you could see inside of it.
Right.
And you could see the pancake getting cooked and go down the conveyor belt and it just flops out on the plate. Oh, man, she made it like a...
Now, I have not actually seen a pancake machine. I'm going to have to Google or, YouTube this after the show. But that's pretty remarkable.
Oh, yeah, it's cool. I mean, she made a bunch of pancakes, and I'm like, you got to eat all that. She's looking at me like, what? I'm like, yeah. That's not fun. You're not playing with Play-Doh. That's food right there. You got to eat it.
Oh, it's going to be...
She had like 4 or 5 pancakes on there, like, oh, look, I want to make more. I'm like, are you going to eat 6 pancakes? She's like, what? I got to eat this?
Oh, man.
I'm like, yeah, you got to eat them.
So it's a good thing that it acts like a sponge for syrup. So it acts like a sponge. for the syrup, right? So she's going to put like an entire bottle of syrup in that thing, and you're going to have a pachinko ball for a child for the rest of the day. She's just going to be bouncing off the walls. This is going to be awesome.
What was the high point of your vacation? I got to see the pancake machine go, and let me tell you, it is a sight to behold.
And that's why I gained 20 pounds on vacation.
And the employee who's got to clean it is looking back there like, really? Like, have to open that thing and clean it.
And that's when the parent conversation comes in. Where are the parents? Where are the parents when this is happening? The parents are over here like laughing.
There's parents and then there's grandparents, and everybody knows the difference. Like grandparents, they do whatever they want. Like whenever my daughter sees her grandparents, whether it's my parents or my wife's parents, like just let go of the reins, let them do it, let them do it. You know,
their kids.
Oh yeah. They got to have fun with somebody because the parents just tell you no. So the grandparents take you around. I mean, she's had a blast, but we're getting ready to get in the car and head on back.
And she will be awake the whole time, and then will crash like a brick when you get home, I bet.
Well, that's one thing, like in technology, I know when I was younger, we had the Game Gears. People had Game Boys and stuff, you know.
Maybe you
I played
did.
a little video game in the back and stuff. So she's got her tablet, but yeah, she's going to pass out. I mean, I hope after 6 pancakes, like, yeah, she pass out. If she doesn't pass out on this car right after eating all those pancakes, something's up. I need to stop at a doctor on the way back. But TK, thank you for having me on this morning, man. I'm sorry I missed out in the beginning, man.
Not at all. Good to hear from you.
I've got to get on the road, brother.
Safe
you have
travels.
a wonderful day.
And I will see you when you get back.
Oh, my family says hello.
Well, hello, guys.
My family says thank you, TK.
And we will get to work on those T-shirts for you.
My mom says Merry Christmas. She will say
Merry Christmas.
And my daughter says Merry Christmas. Everybody
Merry
says
Christmas.
And she says, my dad says Happy Hanukkah. Yes, technically they don't celebrate Christmas, but that's another phone call.
Okay.
Thank you, TK.
Well, again, safe travels, and we will probably see you tomorrow.
You got it, brother.
See you then.
Bye.
Well, nice little family reunion. Which, you know, this is what's really cool about being online is that we can go far beyond the borders of our area. I mean, North Carolina is a beautiful place, and we're on the little corner of southeastern North Carolina, producing a lot of material that's from here and about here. But we have people that are affected or touched by it. We have great guests that discuss, we're independent, so we can do these things like have Andrew Donaldson from Heard Tell and his program, which brings amazing smart people to the program and their conversations. I didn't completely understand the Tesla conversation until I had Andrew on this morning. Now I do. So maybe, getting a Tesla is a slightly different arrangement than I thought. I don't understand that. That's not my lane. It's still and I knew that it was a brand. I mean, you're not buying this to be you're buying it to feel to atone for a sin that you haven't really committed, is what it seems like to me. But it's not meant to replace Ford. It's meant to be a cool alternative to a car that's still street legal. You have motorcycles, you have golf carts, and now you have Teslas. And if you've ever heard a Tesla accelerate, you need to get your hearing checked, because you can't. It's amazing. Those things are just, anyway, I think they're really cool. I like the car. And I like what he's doing with SpaceX. So as weird and crazy, difficult, whatever he may seem, the payoff, the end result is worth it. And that's in a lot of ways what should be the name of the game. Like Michael, the guest that Andrew had on this morning, super smart, but able to communicate effectively. And his, and I think he would appreciate the, I'm joke I made on Facebook a while back where I was being, in humor, being resuscitated by the EMTs, rushing me to the hospital. They asked me, "Who's my doctor?" I said, "Tom Baker." Since I don't have an audience here, I'm not sure how many of you caught that, but that was my doctor. And I think that was the TARDIS interior that was his backdrop during his segment with Andrew Donaldson on the Herdtail show this morning. The video is available on the Big Talker Online YouTube, Facebook, and Twitter page. The replay of the audio is this afternoon at 3, preceding the afternoon block before When Radio Was. New episode every day at 7 o'clock, replayed again at 11, right here on the Big Talker Online. Working on more and more programming for you. But again, it doesn't happen in a vacuum. It doesn't happen for free. So please visit the website. Send us your thoughts. If you don't like it, that's fine. If you like it, that's fine. If you think suggestions, ideas, support, help, the Big Talker is, we're trying to keep it going. We are keeping it going. And it's important. It shouldn't have to happen to you for it to matter to you. And if it matters to you, get involved. And that's sort of the overall point of having corporate independent radio programming, where we can have shows like Objection to the Forum, where you can call in and talk to a lawyer, ask him questions for free. You're not going to do that anywhere else that I know of, where you can just call up and ask a lawyer a question, and he'll let you know if it's a little too deep, and if he can't answer it, he will know somebody and will eventually get somebody on the show who does know what they're, who can answer that kind of question. Always phenomenal guests. Andrew always has phenomenal guests on his show. The Signal Fire guys have been having amazing entrepreneurial success stories from the veteran community on week after week. It's a great opportunity. And again, we have a stacked washer and dryer. It'd be great for, a smaller place. In great condition, Frigidaire. It is a Frigidaire. It is in great condition. I think it was from a rental property that's getting remodeled. So it didn't get a whole lot of use. Go to the website, give us your thoughts, ideas. Ask for Chad Adams by name. I think that'd be awesome. I'd like to get his show going. I mean, he really is he is an entertaining presenter. And he's very well prepared because he understands the state politics so well. And if I'm not mistaken, that was his area of concentration when doing radio initially. When I first met him way back. And we're still building on it, still working on it. Bringing in more national programming. Today's Homeowners, another program we run on the weekend. We have the Brunswick County GOP show, the All Things Brunswick, with Bill, Dan, and Mary. It's almost like Peter, Paul, and Mary, but cooler and more topical, because their issues are today's issues, like parking. They covered that on the show that currently is running on, I'm not sure where it is on the schedule exactly, but you can catch replays of it throughout the week. And they go live on our stream, on their stream. Their stream goes live Tuesdays at 6 o'clock here Eastern Time. And some of the people in, New Hanover County, Pender County, Onslow County, outside the traditional FM signal, may want to pay attention to the trends that are affecting Brunswick County and some of the counties south. The beach community is very much an active tourist destination that the off-season, while it may not generate a lot of income or revenue for the municipalities along the way, the parking is going to do, as I believe it was Dan pointed out on his side of the argument, is going to do more harm to the people that are struggling to make it end to end, because a lot of jobs go away when the season goes away. When the tourists leave, so does the money. So raising prices, or not raising, but at least having parking in the paid parking on the off season, is going to be taking money from the people who don't have any, and it just doesn't make sense. If you're going to generate, or work, there are solutions. It's not a yes or no. You can or can't do this. But at least introduce ideas or entertain options where parking can be not necessarily a yearly pass, but if you're working for a restaurant, the restaurant is bringing money into that community, including people who park. And if you have a, City of Wrightsville Beach parking pass for a particular employee, much like they did for special events like the Azalea Festival, the name of your company and the date that you're allowed to be there, and you put it in your windshield and you go park your car, no problem. And I think that should be true downtown. There's a lot of chefs and such that have to pay a monthly fee to save money on what they would be paying if they were just paying to park on a shift-by-shift basis. So I understand you're trying to milk the tourists. That's what they're here for, and they expect it. They don't go to Disney World on a coupon. Or if they do, they're going to end up paying for it somewhere else. I promise you. So if we're going to do that here, let's at least help or support or at least pretend, or I don't know. We've been pretending that we were trying to help the little guy. Well, here's your chance. Here's a chance. Entertain an idea where workers, there's like maybe parking stickers like they have for college parking lots. And if somebody gets fired, you can easily disable their little barcode number so that when you see them parking and you beep it and it turns red, they get a ticket. That's whatever. There's ways to help without abusing. And that system is really starting to edge on abuse of the wrong people. I mean, abusing tourists, come on, tourist season. I mean, we have deer season, we have elk season, we have duck season, we have Christmas season, we have tourist season. Come on. If we're going to snipe these people, let's do it effectively and stop hitting the locals. But you're not going to hear this on a program or on a station that's corporate sponsored. They're going to have to be careful in how they deliver their message and what messages they can deliver, what stories they can cover. I'm not worried as long as you don't cuss, as long as you keep it, more or less family. And I admit I'm pretty bad at that. We can still get all the words across. We're a talk station. So if you have something to talk about, we're the station. Simple as that. And to help keep it going is going to need help from people like y'all. Which is why we're here. So please, if you would, visit the website, send us an email, drop us a note on Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, make a comment, engage, and let them know we're not making a difference. I don't know if I can say that, but at least starting something. We're reaching out and being reached, being heard. Whether you agree or not, there's plenty you can do. You can vote. You can... there's so much you can do.